In an unexpected juxtaposition of your speech, some may think it absurd that one of the most successful authors of the 20th century never even completed a high school education. However, what he lacked in formal teaching, he made up in a sheer wealth of experience. Born in 1908 in North Dakota, Louis L'Amour grew up immersed in Western culture as his grandpa would come over and tell him stories of ranching, gunfights, gold, and Indians. However, when Louis L'Amour was 15 years old, he left home and roamed the West, picking up odd jobs as he hoboed on trains, such as baling hay in New Mexico. He became a miner, and he was also a lumberjack in Colorado. Then he up and left the country on a freighter. In the next 20 years, he traveled the world. He worked cattle in Texas, sailed on an East African schooner, lived with bandits in Tibet, was an elephant handler, sailed a dhow in the Red Sea, was a lieutenant in World War II. He was shipwrecked in the West Indies and stranded in the Mojave Desert. Beyond all of this, he was also a professional boxer in which he won 54 out of 59 fights with 34 knockouts. This is a pretty impressive guy, and he kind of just breaks all of these stereotypes that we have of authors. During this time, though, in these 20 years, he never stopped writing. He was actually quoted that since the time he could walk or talk, he had an interest in writing and becoming an author. His first book, though, is actually a book of poetry in juxtaposition of all his adventures. However, along the way, he did write adventure stories, but they were based in the Far East or in Latin America. After World War II, he wrote Westerns. It was a risk, though, because Westerns were not very respected at the time. Critics and other authors would actually look down on people that wrote Westerns because they just seemed they seemed simple. But he took this job anyways as it was proposed to him by his editor, and he was determined to be successful with it. Within a year, he had a bestseller on his hands with his character Chick Beaudry. Since then, he has become one of the most popular and prolific authors around ever. He has sold more books than John Steinbeck and has over 80 novels and countless short stories, with over 200 million in print worldwide. Louis L'Amour was the first novelist to be awarded the Congressional Gold Medal in 1982 and the President's Medal of Freedom a year later. He wrote about cowboys for a very specific reason, though. These men came out west reading dime novels and romantic stories, and they expected to find something out here. The life they experienced was very rough. They lived on horseback, ate dust, and always worked for their next meal. But nevertheless, they found what they were looking for, whether it was there or not. Louis L'Amour wanted to keep that passion and romanticism of the West alive as it began to fade out. And that is why he's my favorite author.
Alrighty, how did it go?
I had to cut a lot out of this, like tons. It was ridiculous.